15-year-old Elizabeth Ennen come to an end on a lonely road in Texas.
Her mother, she's lost it. She's a basket case right now.
The body found is Elizabeth's.
We never dreamed this. I mean, I wouldn't have ever thought.
They discovered a body in northwest Lubbock County. It's actually about 20 miles from where Elizabeth was first abducted.
She was doing some babysitting at the Carriage House Inn, it's kind of a motel. She was babysitting for the children of Humberto Salinas Jr.
This suspect has a lengthy criminal history.
I noticed the little girl was really stiff. I mean, she's walking stiff, almost robot-like.
When Virginia Ennen told him Elizabeth had never stepped foot inside, Salinas even offered his help to find her.
He's like, "You're kidding me." So I mean, he took off looking around the neighborhood and looking anywhere and everywhere we could think of.
We are taking your calls for those of you just joining us. The little girl we told you about last night, a 15-year-old babysitter who goes to babysit, never seen again. Police first think she's a runaway. Then grainy surveillance video emerges of her at a local motel being forced into a room, then forced out into the parking lot an hour later. She's cowering in fear, trying to put on her shoes, trying to put on her coat. There is a perp behind bars now. Her body has been found. The perp is now charged with kidnapping. It's the children's father, the daddy of the children she babysat. What went on in that room? A little more is beginning to emerge about the alleged perpetrator, Humberto Salinas Jr. Ellie Jostev, what do we know about him?
Well, Nancy, we knew yesterday that he'd been convicted in 1986 of injury to a child. Now, one of the local TV stations has dug up some very disturbing details about that. The victim was a 4-month-old female relative. He apparently told police that he'd fallen asleep and dropped her, later confessed and admitted that he dropped her repeatedly onto a steel box, a box that he used to hold a jack for a car. Dropped her on that box repeatedly. He told police he didn't know why he did it. He said, "I guess I'm crazy." And he actually served 12 years, Nancy, on that conviction.
Later that same year, he was arrested for domestic assault toward his current wife, Carmen Rosa Manzanares. She said he hit her in the mouth with his left fist, grabbed her with right hand, struck her head against the dash of a vehicle. And also, to you defense attorneys, Kirby Clements, Raymond Giudice, how do you repeatedly drop a 4-month-old baby onto a steel surface? How do you drop a baby over and over and over, Ray Giudice?
The thing about that case is, Nancy, that he was convicted of it, which means he did commit the crime. He may have even pled guilty. So there is no excuse for that, and I'm not going to hear him make one. He was convicted of that, but that crime is 20-something years ago, and it may or may not show any relevancy to this matter.
Clements?
I'm right there with Ray. He's absolutely correct. That was 20 years ago. He paid his debt to society. Let that go.
Okay, let me get this straight, Sumo. So this is how it works. It was 20 years ago, so it didn't happen. It's a crime on a child, on a minor, a girl, committed by him. How is that not relevant?
It shows his history of violence, not only against women, which he did with Carmen, but also against a child. And the fact that he has 2 violent acts that he's been convicted of, and now he's charged with another violent act, I'm seeing a pattern. Of course it's relevant. Of course it's going to come in for sentencing. And of course it's going to lead to him getting the death penalty unless he takes a plea.
To Gene Casares, legal correspondent in session. Gene, I'm very focused on where he hid the body, because I think that we're going to find a lot of evidence there. We're going to find some kind of aggravating circumstance in that area, and clearly when you hide a body, that gets rid of any defense that it was a suicide or that it was an accident. Because if there's an accident, unless you're Jorn Vandersloot, why do you go hide the body?
Right, and you know what's interesting too is the timeline on this, because the last time he left that motel with Elizabeth, 30 minutes later he came back by himself. So was he able to discard that body in 30 minutes, kill her, I should say, and discard the body in 30 minutes and then come back to the hotel? If so, maybe didn't do too good of a
Jane,
job.
This is a shed 10 miles north of Lubbock. A shed used for what?
probably for the cotton gin, probably for the cotton is a big crop in Texas. This is near a cotton field, so it was for industrial purposes.
We're showing you the footage now of the area where the babysitter's body was found. This is the shed it was hidden in, clearly indicating, Sergeant Scott Haynes, that it was a local. They knew how to find this little shed out in the middle of nowhere to hide a body in.
Absolutely. This is somewhere he's been before, which is also concerning. They may find more out there than is related to even to this case.
You mean possibly related to another case, a shed turned mausoleum for this 15-year-old little babysitter, to Dr. Howard Oliver, former deputy medical examiner, forensic pathologist, joining us out of L.A. Dr. Oliver, thank you for being with us. Dr. Oliver, I want to ask you again about the location of the body. Apparently, when they found Elizabeth's body there, they say the body had been there for some time. That says to me, he did not keep her hidden for a period of time. The murder was then and there, that day she came to babysit.
Yes, it sounds like that from the time, he came back in 30 minutes. So it appears that he killed the little girl, kept her in his car or whatever, and later moved the body out to the shed.
Back out to the lines. Lynn in Michigan. Hi, Lynn.
Nancy, how are you?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
I was wondering, is there any surveillance of the 18-year-old son coming in or out of the hotel that day? And if so, is there a chance that maybe the father's covering up for his son?
To Ellie, I said, I don't think that the 18-year-old was in and out at all, was he?
Well, not that we know of, Nancy. This documents we have from the police only talks about the father, the Humberto Salinas Jr., being on that tape with the victim.
To the lines, Cindy in Tennessee. Hi, Cindy. I think I've got Cindy. Are you with me, dear? Let's go to Billy in Indiana. Hi, Billy.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
My question was also about the son. Last night, you said that the father had told police that the little girl had possibly run away with the son. And at what point did they realize that the son was not a runaway and was not missing? And shouldn't that have let them know then that the father was lying?
What about it, Ellie?
That's a good point. What police say is that they were told actually by the victim's mother that she suspected it was possible her daughter could be with that son of the suspect. So police say that's the angle they were initially taking. They were trying to track down her friends. They were trying to talk to people who knew her. And it wasn't until they interviewed the suspect that this took a totally different turn.
Joining me right now, Paula Bloom, Dr. Paula Bloom, clinical psychologist. You can find her at paulabloom.com. Weigh in, Paula.
Oh, boy, this is really, really hard. It just, all due respect to Ray and Kirby, the fact that there's one major thing here. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. To say that it's not relevant, listen, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how it's going to go down in the legal system. But this guy has a history of impulse control problems, of violence, of treating human beings like objects, being able to do that to a baby. It's a huge thing. So I have to say, and this little girl is babysitting.
The alleged perpetrator is the father of the children. This 15-year-old girl went to babysit. Grainy surveillance video catches her being forced into a motel room. An hour later, she emerges trying to put on her shoes, her coat, trying to rush down the hall. He forces her into the parking lot. She is never seen alive again. The search for 15-year-old Elizabeth Ennen ends tonight. Her body found 10 miles north of Lubbock, hidden in a broken down shed.
Wife, common law wife, had been friends with the family since she was 15. She is 28 now. For several years.